Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of What Do You Need to Know to Live in Costa Rica. Today, we're updating a video from last year on moving to Costa Rica in 2024. That's right, moving to Costa Rica in 2024. My name is Patrick Jager, joined as always by my good friend and business partner, Mr. Aaron Bailey. Hello, sir.
Pura Vida Patrick. Hello from San Jose.
Hello from Atenas. Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us. It is, the rain has just started. The afternoon rains have started. It is thunder. One of the dogs is right next to me at all times. Come here, AC. Come here.
Oh, Ace.
Hey, poor Ace. Ace hates the rain. Okay, so this is, you mentioned this to me earlier. This is the first time we're updating something from last year.
We have a year of videos. I think this is one of the very first videos we did, I think maybe 13 months ago, on just the general topic of moving to Costa Rica. We set a number of points in that video, and so we're going to go through and answer these points exactly, updated for 2024. But before we get into all of that, let's remind you, if you find value in this content and really like what we're doing here, we would love for you to be part of this community by smashing that like button, that thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel. That helps other people get to find our content. Leave us a comment, shoot us an email at hola@yourpuravida.com. We would love to hear from you.
That's right. Yeah, literally, this video initially came after we had had a conversation with our very first member, and we said we were going to start videos, and they said, make a video on just moving to Costa Rica. So literally, our video ideas come from you. So this video in particular, well, I don't know if anything's changed in the last year. I think that the answers are probably the same. I think the nuances of the answers, because we've gotten more questions, is probably different. But let's start with a little kind of recap for those of you that maybe this is the first video you're looking at in our series. Costa Rica. It is a stable economy, a stable political system. It is a neutral and non-aligned country. It does not have a military. The seat of government is in San Jose. It's roughly 5.5 million people. It's known for its biodiversity. It's about the size of West Virginia, but 6% of the world's biodiversity, which is incredible.
Amazing.
Obviously, the environment and the biodiversity is a huge selling point here for tourism, which is the number one export of Costa Rica, is Costa Rica. It is a much more laid back lifestyle. I always say to people when they're like, well, is it hustle bustle? I'm like, no, the whole country is kind of like a town, right? We don't have that deep urban, we've gotten a lot of comments on our video about Panama. Panama has, I don't know, 100-story buildings, lots of them.
Right.
We don't have anything like that here. This is a much more kind of agrarian. Everything is about being out in nature, not being in high-rise buildings. So it just is it's a different way of life.
Yes.
Anything you'd add to the summary?
I think most importantly, the fact that this country is filled with warm and friendly and very welcoming Costa Ricans, Ticos. That is the number one point I think I'd like to make, is that this country is just filled with such amazing, beautiful people.
Oh my gosh. So true. Like, until they get behind the wheel of a car, but that's a whole nother video. No, I'm kidding.
That's very true. And Costa Ricans would agree with that.
The Costa Ricans would totally agree with that. So, okay. So we have some questions and some points that we spoke to last year. Why don't you take this first one? This is one we get a lot.
We get this nearly every conversation with a client or prospective client. Is Costa Rica safe? Maslow hierarchy of needs we talk about in another video that we'll be releasing soon. Safety is the foundation for everything you do. Are you and your family going to be safe living in Costa Rica? And that answer is very nuanced and very, complex, because you can't compare safety as a country as a whole you have to specifically look at where in Costa Rica you are versus where you're coming from. If you live in rural Nebraska in a town of 300 people, going anywhere, safety is going to be different, right? Costa Rica has some crime, like many places in the United States. But
Many places around the
overall, it is
world.
around the world. Overall, Costa Rica is a safe place, and I personally feel safe here, and so many of my friends who have moved here from the United States feel.
I think that there's a bad rap. Some would say deserved, some would say undeserved, about Central America being just, a cesspool of crime. And you get that because of you think about drug lords and you think about, whatever. Yes, there are places you can go in Central America that are probably not advised. But again, as you said, you could say the same thing about Baltimore or Miami
Hmm.
or anywhere like Toronto. There are places that you just know not to go because you're not part of that community. Mexico City, for sure, there's
Yep.
literally a line. If you go on that side of that church, it's a different town than if you're on this side of that church.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
I think the thing that we are here really to say about crime is for the vast majority of people that are looking to move to this country, the crime you will experience is petty crime. If you leave your car unlocked and your purse out, or or um, I
They
had shoes stolen off the beach. They're crimes of opportunity.
That's the worst that's happened to me. I had someone take my flip-flops off the beach. Um, it just I don't. My neighbor had a bicycle stolen once. That just doesn't happen often, at least from my perspective. But it could, and so you
I
just have to know that that's the way it is.
I think the thing that I would say is there's kind of two schools that skew this. There's the school of
Yes.
people that are trying to sell something. So these are people that are selling a tour package and saying, "There's no crime here. Come down and visit." Or they're selling a house. Oh yeah, that's a great neighborhood. Don't worry about it. Or they're selling you a visa. And so they're
Right.
going to be very Pollyannish. I don't think we're Pollyanna-ish. I mean, yes, there is
No.
crime, and we've talked about it in a lot of videos. You know, there
Yep.
are certain gang-on-gang crime issues in this country, or loan shark crime issues in this country. There is definitely
Yep.
some crime around the drug trade um, that is
In certain
passing through
parts.
this country in certain parts.
Yep.
Again, if you are a if you are living in the greater San Jose area in the place where expats would be living, you're not going to have that. The
Right.
flip side are the people that make crime an issue because they have a uh, they have a bully pulpit and they hate this country or they hate their experience in this country. And you see a lot of that, I think, on blogs. And I'm not trying to denigrate
Well,
anyone's
and
experiences.
Facebook groups are
That's what I meant.
filled with negative people who just either have had a horrible time or they're horrible anywhere they go. They just don't like life, and so they sit on Facebook groups all day and complain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you and I sit nicely in the middle of, yes, there are problems here, like anywhere else in the world. This isn't perfect, and you're not going to get murdered tomorrow.
And final point on that. Okay, next
Final point.
question.
Yes.
Can I work or start a business in Costa Rica? The answer is absolutely. You can start a business in Costa Rica. You can buy a business into Costa Rica. You cannot work at a business in Costa Rica. That is the dividing line. Until you have permanent residency, you are able to make a profit, but you cannot make a salary.
From
So
that
if
business.
from that
Yep.
business, so if you invest in a business, you can make profit off of that business, but you cannot be on the books for a salary. Um, and a lot of people
And
do that.
and getting a job here. Let's say you want to come down, you need a job to live. Most likely, you are not going to get a job here. You're not legally allowed to
Not a
work
legal
here,
job.
not a legal job. However, and we've helped a number of people out this way. They do get work visas for very specific skilled in roles that someone from Costa Rica isn't able to fulfill, or companies that are moving a manager here because they need that expertise. So most likely, the average person is not going to find a company in Costa Rica to hire them legally. You're going to have an online job and work for a company in the United States or Europe or Canada. Or you're going to have to start a company here, which is still, not easy to do, but is possible. Or you're going to have money saved up.
Yeah. We will never tell. I mean, there are a lot of people that say, well, I just want to come down and I'm going to open an acupuncture studio and what you do under the table, we're not going to tell you is positive or negative. We just don't talk about that. That is your choice. But the reality is, I don't know if you can hear that thunder, but it is coming. The
Love it.
reality is that is not legal work, and that's up to you.
Right.
Okay, next
Exactly.
question.
All right. Next question. What is the education system like in Costa Rica? Now, this is a question that we have had some significant progress in over the past year because we now have an education specialist, Andrea, on staff who has helped a number of our families navigate the educational system in Costa Rica. She is fantastic. Go look at the other video that we did with her. And if you'd like to work with her to get your kids in school in Costa Rica, hola@yourpuravida.com. We'll start that conversation. But overall, Patrick, what is the education system like in Costa Rica?
There's a lot of very, very well respected schools, private schools, charter schools, all throughout the country. It's interesting. Andrea has helped a lot of families that have kids that have very specific needs. We've had kids on the autism spectrum or other special needs. We've had kids in the gifted side, kids with specific interests. So much like anywhere else you go, there's a lot of diversity. There in San Jose, there are schools in German and French and English and Spanish, of
Spanish.
course, and
Yeah.
maybe other languages that we're not thinking of. But you're definitely going to see that there's a little of something for everyone. The public school system as well. One thing to know is the school calendar is different for a lot of the country schools, not all of them, but some of the schools in the country go by a normal calendar that we're used to, start in August, end in June. Others start in February because there's a Christmas break here from the end of December to the beginning of February. And that is considered the summer. So there are other
Yes.
schools that start in February. So we can help you figure all that out. We have a family that's interviewing at both types of schools. We've helped them figure out exactly how they'll slot in, what that will look like. The education system here is good. A lot of the schools are accredited as international schools
Mhm.
so that you can get your AP credits, for example, to transfer over to AP status for college in the States. Um, so
Yeah, you can.
it's actually, I'm very impressed by the school system here.
Yes, absolutely. You can go to school here in Costa Rica and then easily apply to schools, to colleges and universities in the United States,
Hmm.
Canada, wherever, and not miss a beat.
Yep. Yep. All right. Next one, healthcare. The question was, what is the healthcare system like in Costa Rica? Healthcare system in Costa Rica is quite good. Different, but quite good. Um, the the WHO ranks the healthcare system here as the 36th highest in the world. But interestingly, the UN ranks it in the top 20 in the world. It almost always is above the United States and places like New Zealand. Um, a lot of people compare it to Canada because it is a universal health system. So you can, once you're part of the system, you can get a lot of things, but you might have to wait. So there are people, even Tico friends of mine, that do a combination of public system and private care, depending on what they're trying to do. They might do public for their day to day, but do private care for a special need or for something like a surgery. But the system is good. The
Yeah.
system has its quirks for sure, and both you and I have experienced the healthcare system. So, you know, I had a very long wait time to get discharged, crazy wait time. Um, it was frustrating, but at the end of the day, like it's just a wait time. The service that we received in the hospital was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so healthcare system here is quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's that public and private system. A lot of things you do on the public system, some things you do on the private system. If you're on a tourist visa, you don't really have access to the public system. You're paying out of pocket or using your private insurance for that. So when you're moving to Costa Rica, you kind of need to figure out how you're going to be here, on what visa, and how to navigate the public and private system. And that's something that we've helped a number of people think through.
One thing that I would say too on insurance, if you were to say, "Oh, I'll do private pay with my insurance," make sure you know what your insurance covers because some insurance covers everything. If you're on a strong PPO plan, but others only cover emergency room, others don't cover anything, or you have to contest and try to get reimbursed. So
Right.
make sure that your healthcare, you have looked into what it does and does not cover. There are also international healthcare plans, and if you are someone that doesn't want to pay into the Caja, for example, or doesn't want like isn't I'm going to be here for 6 months before I even decide whether or not I'm going to get a visa.
Residency.
Makes sense. If you're going to wait, residency, sorry. If you're going to wait for 6 months and you say, but I do need insurance, there's an insurance plan that you can look for. So overall, the system, albeit a little cumbersome, is great.
Yep. Fantastic. All right. Next question. We get this nonstop.
I mean, it's our
Where do I
job.
move?
Yeah.
It is our job. Where do I move in Costa Rica? So, Costa Rica is a small country, but it's an incredibly diverse country in terms of places. You can spend months driving around finding different places to potentially move to. And this is a very, very subjective and nuanced conversation. Um, do you want the beach? Do you want to be around people? Do you not want to be around people? Like, how do you want to live? How do you want your daily life to live? Do you need to be close to hospitals, close to the airport so you can fly in and
School for your
out?
kids.
Schools is a very important one. There are just dozens and dozens and dozens of towns in this place, and in some places, dozens of communities inside of those places where you might find your perfect fit, your community. And so I think that's something that we do really well. We've helped many families, many individuals and many families scout, figure out where in Costa Rica they might potentially want to move to. And Patrick, how do we do that?
Well, Aaron, we have a whole video that we're about to do on this too. But I mean, literally, you fill out a survey. That survey allows us to get a glimpse of who you are. We give you results that help us say we think this is the province that makes sense for you. Then, if you want to scout, we talk about exactly where you want to scout, and we put together a very detailed scouting. That scouting is really about things like what shops you want to go to, what's restaurants, whatever your thing is, yoga, pickleball,
Taekwondo.
taekwondo,
Yeah.
whatever your thing is, we help you find that. I need an acupuncturist. So we're going to give you a lot of options so that you can drive around and you can kind of experience for yourself because A, what works for me might not work for you. Thus, we're not going to give you a one and done recommendation. And B, we're not going to tell you to go there at 3 p.m. You go, you scout at your pace, you figure out your country, really. And it really is. It's so subjective. And the
Yeah.
best thing that we can do is not try to be prescriptive, but try to give you options that help you make up your own mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, our next
So if
one.
you're
Oh,
interested,
sorry.
hola at yourporvida.com. Start a conversation. We'd love to talk. Next one.
Sorry for jumping on you on that one. Okay, next one, car versus public transportation. We get this one a lot too. Where can I live that I don't need a car? There's a very broad public transportation system here. If you're comfortable being on a bus with a lot of people, if you're comfortable kind of the slow boat to China approach, because a lot of those things are, these aren't the express bus. These are
Right.
normally local buses. They're going to stop a lot. Um, there's a very good system. And if you're comfortable with that, you can get around just fine. You just have to factor that into your day. There are other people I know that they rely on taxis and Ubers. They
Yep.
don't have cars, totally doable. There are some towns that are quite walkable. If you're in
Hmm.
Paco, it's a quite walkable town. Hot, but it's very flat. So
Right.
you can do that. My town, Atenas, maybe downtown, but it's very hilly everywhere else. So you'll get a workout in.
Right.
Good for you. Where you
Right.
live in Romasort, very
Very
walkable.
walkable. I rarely get in my car
Yeah,
most of the weeks. It's when I'm leaving my neighborhood that I need to drive anywhere. And sometimes I Uber, sometimes I get my own car. It all
sometimes a
depends.
friend drives you. Just saying.
Sometime Patrick drives me. Yes.
No, I think the thing is you can live here without a car. Convenience wise, it's not like you can just go hail a cab on the street corner. And it's not like you have a subway system. So you just have to factor that in. Where I live, I definitely need a car because it would be very hard for me at my lifestyle to not be able to get where I need to go. Go meet a client wherever they are. Come have a meeting with you down in the city. Um, and cars here are very prevalent. Cars don't lose their
Hmm.
value in the same way they do in the States. So buying a car, we tend to prefer people buy new cars so they're under warranty. Really know the background of the car if you're going to buy used. Um, and yeah, you can do either.
And I think yes, you can do either. The thing though, having a car does open up an ability to explore that you can't get on public transportation. If you want to go explore that waterfall that no one else goes to down that really rough dirt road, you need a car and you probably need a 4x4. That's an extreme situation, but a car does give you the ability to explore that you otherwise wouldn't have if you're just on public transportation or Uber.
I think it's a very good point, though. I mean, you're moving to a place that we talked about has 6% of the world's biodiversity, and there's so
Yeah,
much to experience. And yeah, I think you miss out if you don't have that ability. But
exactly.
again, subjective. Okay,
Right.
last question for this one, Aaron, take it
Yes.
away.
What are the visa requirements for visiting Costa Rica and then for moving to Costa Rica? We just did it. Well, Patrick just wrote a blog post on this, so we'll link that down in the description below. But tourist visas here are really easy from many countries: United States, Europe, Canada. You show up, you get a stamp in your passport, most likely for 180 days. That has changed since our last video, which was when it was only 90 days. So you can be generally in this country for 6 months without needing a different visa. You show up, you get the visa. If you want another 6 months, you leave for 30 seconds and come back, and you can get generally another 6 months.
Literally 30
That,
seconds.
yes, literally walk across the border of Nicaragua, turn around, and come back. Now, generally, we say that only gets you so far, and we would highly recommend you consider a long-term temporary and then permanent visa if you're going to be here long-term. There's a whole host of reasons why you'd want to do that. But most people who are here long term are going to fall in three categories. They're going to be retirees and they live on a pension, Social Security or a work pension. That's a pension visa, pensionado visa here in Costa Rica. You have to have a stable lifetime pension amount. You pretty easily can get a temporary residence for that. A rentista visa, you have to show that you have $2,500 a month in cash over 24 months, so $60,000 that you can live off of while you're here in Costa Rica. Or an investor visa. You have to spend 150,000 US dollars in a house, a car, a business, all sorts of things. Once you have that $150,000, you qualify as an investor visa. After 3 years, you have to renew that those temporary visas. After 3 years of renewing, you can apply for your permanent residency and be here without having to renew all of that. That is not citizenship. So often people think, can I become a citizen? Yes, but that's down the road, and there's a whole nother video, and you're not going to become a citizen. You're not going to get a Costa Rican passport tomorrow. So if that's something you need, if you're running from another government and need a passport, that's generally probably outside the scope of what we advise and provide.
Yeah, this is not one of those sanctuary countries that you can buy a passport. It just
Right.
isn't. So, but yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, that's the thing. The other thing I would say, just for those, if this is the first time you've thought about Costa Rica, when you come and you fly down, you can't come one way. You have to have a return
It's true.
because they need to see that you're going to be out of here within 6 months. What you can't do is have a return for a year when you're only given a 6-month visa.
Right.
So you can always change your flight and push it back and push it back. But when you come in, they will ask you, when are you leaving? Another good reason to have residency of some sorts, because then they don't ask you that question anymore.
And you can drive as a tourist, you can drive on your home driver's license. When you become a resident, you can apply for a Costa Rican driver's license. You can turn your old license in and get a new one.
The one thing I would say though is that as a tourist, you're driving on your driver's license, but you are by law required to carry your passport at all times.
Correct.
So just know that. We got way more in depth on that than we did
We did.
last year.
Yes.
What a difference
Yes.
a year makes. All right.
What a difference.
If this was beneficial to you, comment. Let us know your thoughts. You can always leave questions for us. We try to answer them in our videos. We do a Q&A every month of just random questions. We try to email people back when we can. We really love engaging with you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to get in contact with us, it's ola@yourpuravida.com. And everything we have, all of our blogs and vlogs and Instagram and all this stuff that we have on our website, yourpuravida.com/links, and get all of that. Thank you for being part of this. Aaron, updating. We'll do this again in 2025.
Next year. Oh my goodness, 2025. That's crazy.
I know, that is crazy. All right, well, until 2025.
Until then, exactly.
Pura Vida.
Pura Vida.